Yo, I'm Brendan, and today it's time for a full Acorns Investing App tour. Maybe you're not familiar with the app because you're new to it, or maybe it's always just been a little confusing to you. So today I'm going to go through every single feature of the app, step by step, explain everything for 30 seconds to a minute so I don't take up your whole life, but you get a good rundown of the app and how to use it and what everything is. And after that, I'll show you exactly how to use the app and what it looks like day to day. What are you supposed to do in the app whenever you open it, and what kind of activities can you expect to do as a user of the app, as an investor? I'll show you that at the end of the video. Let's go. So when you first open the Acorns app, it's going to look something like this. There's a chance the top half of your screen is going to look a little bit different than mine because I just got the new Acorns Mighty Oak debit card. When I did that, my account updated and the whole visual of this turned to be a little bit darker and sleeker and more like an Acorns tuxedo. So if yours is still kind of bright and green, that's fine. Nothing is wrong. Doesn't mean you need to update your app. It's just because I have that new account type. That's why it looks a little different. You can get that too if you have more questions about that. I've got both of the videos I made about that new account linked in the description so you can find it really easily. I'll also link them at the end so you can find them. But this is basically the home screen. And the goal with this is just to give you a general overview of everything you can see here. So we can see our overall balance. That makes sense. How much money do I have with Acorns? Then they break it down based on where it is. So for me, the vast majority of the money I have with them is invested. That's the 1955.13 here. And then the later account that's right below that is just an opportunity to open an IRA with Acorns. An IRA is just an individual retirement account. We'll come in, we'll dive into this a little bit later on. But for now, I don't have an IRA with Acorns personally. Not like it's a bad move. I just have IRAs elsewhere already. Next is into some banking features. And that's supposed to be the little emblem there, like a little card with, I don't know, stems growing on it. A checking account. It's just a basic bank account. Nothing too crazy or too special. The fact is, if you get the Mighty Oak card, then you get 3% interest on your checking account balance. And so that's kind of a cool place to park your cash if you want to make a little bit more money than the average bank. But that's a different video for later on. Then the emergency fund is a similar thing. It's just a high yield savings account. It doesn't mean you can only use the money for emergencies. There's nothing limiting for it. They've just given that sort of bucket a name and they've called it emergency fund. If you do that, you get 5% interest on your money. And so I think that's really great. That's where I'm going to put some cash and I'm looking forward to that. Then early is the final option. It shows kind of a parent and kid little silhouette outline there. When we click on that, it's saying that you can invest for your kids, and it could be for college, it could be for other stuff. The long and the short of this is I don't use that kind of account personally. I don't think it's bad, but I'll tell you when we get there why I don't use that type of investing account for my own kids. All right, back to the home screen. You can keep scrolling down a lot, as if you just want to keep scrolling for the rest of your life. The first thing you see whenever you keep scrolling down is their Acorns Earn shop integration. And basically what that is the same thing as the far right icon down here. It's just like a shortcut to everything else. And so what they're trying to have you do is shop through the Acorns app and you get a couple percent back for doing that. They invest that change for you. They just want you to use their Chrome extension, which is the same thing as the next thing down, which is for right now, a little squirrel holding a Christmas present. So cute. Then if we scroll down from there, we can see milestones. These are not something significant for your life and money. Just so we're clear on that, this is kind of a kitschy Acorns feature to try and get you to gamify your own money and investing and to try and get you to use all of their features. You do not need to check all these off. You do not need to feel like this is a required thing to make all this happen. Just treat this as totally optional if you feel like it. That's not a financial vehicle. Just want to be clear on that. All right, let's move on. The next thing down here, which is this little green screen, is money skills for kids. And basically what Acorns did was absorb another company called GoHenry into their own business. And GoHenry is set up to be a kid's debit card. So if your kid is 6 to 18 years old, they can get this kid's debit card. And there are online classes the kid can take that are totally free, that are just part of this service. They can get a debit card. You can monitor that debit card a little more heavily than you could with a normal bank account. It's not a bad thing. I think it's worthwhile. I have one of the debit cards. Oh no, I have it here. I was going to say I have the card coming. The one negative thing I learned about that service from Acorns is that unfortunately, the really snazzy, cool designer debit cards that they advertise all over the place, let your kid pick out their own debit card. All the cool ones cost extra money. I didn't realize that. The only one you can get for free is basically that red color of the app background right there, which is fine, but it's not nearly as fun as getting to pick one out. I feel like they should just buckle down and make those for free. Come on, guys. Just let the kid pick the cool card. That could be a difference maker between using the account and not. Anyway, the next thing down is what I will see because I've got this Mighty Oak card on the way. If you don't have it on the way, your screen here will probably look a little bit different, but it's basically just tracking the stats of my card. Once it gets here, I can hit activate and I'll start using that debit card. Not a big deal if you don't see that, especially if you are using this before and you have an Acorns account and you have an Acorns debit card, you might have a different screen there because the legacy customers like you and I we have had a checking account with them, and yet there's another checking account you could get instead. So kind of an odd thing to have one of the other checking accounts, but don't worry if you don't see that part of the screen either. No big deal. Now we're on to things that are a little bit more consequential and meaningful. I have $20 in scheduled deposits this month. Basically, I put in $5 a week automatically. It just happens. Boom, done. The investing ball keeps rolling. The more money we invest, the more money we're going to have. And so this is kind of a fun thing to actually keep track of and gamify, because if you can set that up and slowly jack that number up over time to be higher and higher, you're going to end up with a lot more money. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I like that reminder there because it's like, yeah, I'm doing the thing. I'm investing the money. And this next little section here of the homepage is called Roundups. All that's saying is if you're using the Acorns card the way they intend, so you can either like link up that Acorns account, or you can use the Acorns debit card. And what happens is whenever you buy something, then it rounds up the value of that purchase to the next dollar and invests that change for you. So you can see the last time I did this was 2022. It's been a little while since I've used that Acorns card, but it's kind of a cool concept. I spent $3.35 at Target. Then it took that extra 65 cents to round up to the next dollar and doubled it because I had that set up to double. I'll show you that here in a minute too. And then it's invested that balance for me. So this is not... We should be clear on this. Roundups are not free money. It's not Acorns matching your investment. It's not them giving you that money. This is not like a hack to invest more without it costing you something. The only hack is your psychology. So it's you going, oh, I can either choose to invest an extra $5 or $10 a week, or I can use their card and it will just like subtly sneak out of my bank account and go get invested for me without me having to make that decision, and maybe without me having to do the hard work of deciding to do that. Because maybe if I was thinking about it, I would say not to do that, but I could actually handle it financially. I just don't feel like it. This takes away that friction of I don't feel like it. It's fine. It's not a bad feature. It was novel when it first came out. I think it can be useful. I also don't have a problem with you just going like, how about I just set up a $10 recurring deposit and then it's done. I don't have to worry about that. That works too. The second to the last section here is grow your knowledge. And so it gives you some decent information. I think it's too brief though, about, hey, how can Acorns help you grow your money faster? And it gives you some like basic information and then like a ton of disclosures, or what's the difference between invest later and early? And it gives you a little bit of a description. If anything, I feel like those should be longer, because like if I'm in your app, I'm really asking questions, I really want to know, this little third of a page example of how much you should invest, it's just not enough. Like I want to be able to dive pretty deep into that. And if I was them, I would have some deeper topics and deeper content around that. That's partially why I make videos for you, because I'm like, if I'm doing this for the first time, I want all the info. So don't hold back from me, Acorns. That's nothing. It's an amuse-bouche. It's a little baby one-bite appetizer. I want the full steak of information. Does that make sense? I like steaks of information. Enough food analogies. The last thing on the screen down here is an offer to essentially incentivize you to refer your friends to use Acorns. I've done this in the past. They do actually send you the money. It just is like a credit to your Acorns account that you'll get like a little referral bonus. You do kind of become that like spammy friend who's like, hey, can you sign up for Acorns? I'll get $725 if 3 friends do it. I only need 1 more. Your friends typically don't want to hear that. So if that's a natural thing for you to do, to recommend a service to people and they like that and it is a win-win for everybody, great. But otherwise, you might kind of pester your friends and family with that. All right, let's go back up to the very top of the screen here and look at the home screen, because in the very top left corner, we skipped over something, which is your profile. So this is not well advertised, if you will, but what this is telling you all your settings and any other kind of significant stuff that you might want to change with your account. It's all here in the profile. So I've been investing with them for almost 4 years. That's kind of fun. See if I got anything in the message center. Yeah, my message center is all just notifying me that I've reached a milestone. There's nothing that significant. Again, invite friends, milestones. There's nothing that unique here except for settings. So if we go into settings, you can change things like your subscription, which I think could be really worthwhile for people. Like, hey, I don't want to do the $9 per month tier anymore. Get me out of this. You've got your personal info in there, like your name, your job information, all that kind of stuff, your linked accounts, whether or not you want your notifications on. You can change things related to security, which I think could be really good. I enabled Face ID, but I'm not sure if that's any more secure than doing a password. I think if anything, it's probably less secure. It's just so much faster. 2-factor authentication is probably wise to do, but a password, a login pin, all this stuff is wise to set up and have a redundancy in case you forget your information. And then this one last little button here I'm going to point out to you, that's documents and statements. If you need your tax statements, or if you're curious about having the sort of total record of your account with Acorns, you can get your statements here. They're not big on paperwork, these people. They don't want to scare you off with tons of numbers and statements and fancy terminology, which is great. I appreciate that. But if you're looking for your statements, they're here, buried deep. That's how you get there. All right, back to the home screen. Now let's dive into the top right-hand corner, which that first little thing is that clock. And for me, it has a little 2 on there because it's telling me I've got a couple of things pending. So if you don't have anything up there, that's not a problem. No worries. For me, I just have 2 different transactions, if you will, that are in the works. And so it's telling me that those 2 things are scheduled. They just haven't happened yet. I've got a withdrawal happening. I've got a recurring investment happening. Bada bing, bada boom. Then the top right corner, again, is telling you to get your friends to invest. So funny. Enough about that referral business. Let's get into one of my favorite things about the entire app, view potential. I love this little chart. What I love about this is that it really helps us visualize the difference between investing a little bit of money and investing at a painful rate that's a lot more money. So like, for example, right now, based on what I have set up, I'm 36. So it's saying by default, it jumps to 76 because it wants to show you some growth, but that'd be a long time to wait to use this money. What it's telling me is the hypothetical value of how much this account could be worth if I keep doing what I'm doing from now until I'm 76 is this amount. And then if you want to, you can scroll that age up and down by just grabbing that actual point on the graph, grabbing that and then sliding it down. You see how the age changes. Let's say it's 62, it's only worth 71,323. Or if you wait another 10 years to 72, basically like doubles almost, 132 grand. Let's max it out all the way. At age 80, 236 grand, not quite another double. But you can see that the money's growing at a faster and faster rate there. And it's just so simple and so clean and easy to use. It's telling us that at the top there, that invest number, that kind of light green, is how much you have put in theory. Keep doing what you're doing for this long. I would have put in $47,000 worth of my own money. But then the growth that it did on its own, free of me doing any extra labor, is almost $190,000. That's that little return category, which is the darker green on top. So you can see the rate of me putting in my money is the same. It's kind of like a level line. The difference is that green chunk on top is growing at a faster and faster and faster rate. It's getting taller and taller because it's growing faster every year. So year 10, you're only making, $1,000 in profit, but year 40, maybe you're making $20,000 in profit and you haven't changed. You're doing your same little thing. That's compound interest. That's why I love it. But let's keep playing with that. So let's say I want to change my recurring deposit and get really serious here. I've only got $5 per week happening. You can click that little calendar and change the timeline of when you're depositing money and investing it. So if I wanted to go from $5 a week to $5 a day, let's watch this number jump up. Boom. Now I'm up to $558,000 at age 80. That's a big difference. Now what if I invested $10 a day? I'm at almost $1 million. $20 a day, $1.6 million. Sometimes I just scroll all the way to the right and be like, how crazy can we make the number? $500 a day. I'd have $37.7 million. It's just a fun thing. I don't think that's the point of the service here, to play around like that. But I think if you go, okay, what's a realistic amount that I can invest every single month? Let's say you set aside $250. Like, what kind of general idea should I have about how much money I might have by then? 800 grand? That would be nice. I'd be 80, but hey, that's a lot of money. And then if you're curious about how much money you'd have at an earlier age, like how much would I have at 60 then? Oh, I would have just over 200 grand. So it's just this very easy tactile investment calculator basically, but I just love the way they visualize that. All right, now let's dive deeper into each type of account, what the features are, and just give you a general overview of each thing for a minute or so. So if you notice, you've got similar symbols, similar-ish symbols along the vertical piece here from the different account types and the horizontal piece. And that's really like the goal, is to be able to go, I want to either click on invest here and get there that way, or I can click on the bottom row where it's a similar little like stock chart and get to invest also. So it's giving you multiple ways to get to each area depending on what you like. It doesn't matter either way. I'll click on the bottom one here and look at my invest balance. And what that's going to do is combine both invest and later. So your invest account with Acorns is just a taxable brokerage account. If you're not familiar with that, that's just the most basic kind of investing account there is. There's really not any limits to it. There's not really any rules compared to the other kinds of accounts like the account type in the later. It's just a freewheeling, easygoing account. Put in what you want, take out what you want. There's no limits and restrictions and things to worry about when it comes to a taxable brokerage. Now, in comparison to that, there's an account type with the later account here where there are a lot of rules and regulations and limits and all that kind of stuff. So an IRA is an individual retirement account. To really use an IRA and be happy about it, you've got to be able to say, I'm setting this money aside for retirement. This is going to give me some kind of tax break whenever I put this money in there, depending on the type of IRA that it is. But when you put the money in there, you'll need to lock it away for a long time, basically until typical retirement age, to be able to get the full benefit of using that account. So this is not where you'd want to invest if you're going to use that money in 5 or 10 years to buy a house or a car or buy your kid their first go-kart or something like that. This is not the place for that. This is money that you're essentially intending to forget about until the time comes for you to retire. just so we're clear on that. And I think they do a really good job. If we scroll down here, you can actually see how much of the annual limit you've contributed. One tricky thing about the IRA is you can only put in so much. So like for 2023, you can only put in $6,500. But to be able to track that really easily, they give you the amount you've contributed and a little graph that goes from left to right there to show you how much you've done. I wish everybody did this. Not everybody makes it that clear. That is very clear. I like that. And that's pretty much all you need to know about the invest and the later account. Now let's go over into the banking side. So to do that, you can click on the little bottom middle emblem, that little bank, or you can go all the way back to the home screen and click on either checking or emergency fund. Either way, you're going to get there. So if I click on the bank, and that's both a checking account and in this case, a high yield savings account that they're calling emergency fund. So the checking account is just hosted with the bank because of course Acorns is not a bank and you use it like a normal checking account. So you can have your money direct deposited in there from your paycheck or you can transfer it yourself. And then from there you can use their debit card to pay for stuff directly or you can just let it sit there. A lot of people just have a lot of cash sitting in a checking account. You can do that. It's typically not the wisest thing to do because you get like no interest on that money. And so it's just slowly fading as inflation eats away at it. But with this Acorns one, with this new one, you get 3%. So that's a pretty nice checking account APY to get. And that's why I kind of want to use it. And then the rest of the screen down here, if you keep scrolling down, it's basically just saying, hey, finish setting up the card if you order it. There's really nothing else for you to see here besides you can transfer money in, you can transfer money out, you can send a check to somebody, or you can find an ATM that's compatible with the Acorns card. It's a pretty standard banking experience. If you used a checking account before, you know how to make your way around this. Now for the emergency fund side, it's really similar to any old savings account you've ever used before. The one thing that I like that they point out is A, you're getting 5% APY. That's pretty sweet. And B, you've got a goal here to save for. Because with an emergency fund, you typically need to set up, hey, I need to have $1,500 or $3,000 or whatever the amount is that you're going to feel comfortable with. And you've got to have that focused in your mind of I'm going to get to this goal. They make that really easy to just plan on doing that. And then this paycheck split is just saying send a portion of my paycheck every week or 2 weeks or however often you're paid to get into this account. And I think that's the best way to do it, to set up an automatic investment to do that. And I just love how clear this is. As a feature, I think they've built this really well because the difference would be, okay, you just open a random savings account at your current bank and you don't have it designated as an emergency fund. You don't have it set up with this goal. You don't have it with this intent behind it. It's just account number 1234. Then when the time comes that you're like, I'm perusing on cars and bids, and I think that this Miata looks really sweet. Maybe I will buy it. Then that money like burns a hole in your pocket and you end up buying a race car. Don't do that. Maybe that's just me. Maybe you're buying other things. But for me, I'm like, I like the fact that that really clearly says this is an emergency fund. It's not for anything else. Leave it alone. Keep your hands off, bud. I think that's pretty cool. There's other ways to do that. Of course, you could buy CDs. You could just do a normal account. You don't have to have your emergency fund as something that's like labeled an emergency fund. I just think that it's wise. I'm hoping it helps us to save the money better and not spend it. That's all. All right, back at the home screen, the last type of account you can click on here is an early account, and that's the one where you can invest for your kids. Now's the time when I'm going to tell you why I don't use this type of account. So what this type of account is, if we click into this take a tour button on the top right-hand corner, is this UTMI UGMA account that's set up for minors. And what that's basically allowing you to do is to put this account in the child's name right now. So legally, they are part owners of the account. Because they're under 18, it's intended to be paired with like an adult guardian parent person so that they're also on the account. But the structure of the account is such that whenever they turn 18, they become an adult, the account is theirs, like legally. So whether or not that adult or parent dies or tries to take the money or there's a crazy legal battle or whatever else is happening in life, the fact that this account dictates that this money is the child's, there's not allowed to have it till they're 18, gives you a lot more legal protection than if you just earmarked that money somewhere else. So if you had like a taxable brokerage account or a checking account or just whatever other random account that you're like, this is little Timmy's money, and you like name it little Timmy's car fund or whatever the thing is, and then you die or you get a divorce or something else kind of hectic happens and that money needs to be moved somewhere or taken, it's just out there. It's easy to take. Anybody with the rights to access that money can then take it. The difference is this is properly locked away, if that makes sense. Now, you could use this money for a college savings plan too. And they even mention that here back on the home screen. They say more flexible than a college savings account. Typically, that has been true because until like this year, whenever they passed a new rule, the college savings plan, which is also called a 529 college savings plan, was really kind of specific on what you could use the money for without having to pay a penalty. You could only use it for educational expenses and really nothing else. So some people had a problem with it because they're like, hey, what if my kid never goes to college? I've earmarked this money for them. What happens to that money? Do I have to pay penalties and taxes on it now? Like, that's this waste of money now because I put it in the wrong spot. I think the government heard that criticism and they were like, you know what? You're right. We should make that money able to move if the child doesn't use it. And as I'm saying this out loud, I'm realizing we should put more money into our kids' 529 and into my nieces and nephews' 529s because it's such a good account. This change is such a big deal. So what the change was they said, whatever unused money is left over in that 529, whenever the kid's done and they're not going to college and they're not using that money, now you can roll that over into an IRA for them. So even if you know for a fact your kid is never going to college for some reason. Like maybe they literally can't go to college because they have a deep reason. Or maybe you're like, no, man, he's like 8 years old and he's already welding. He's going to trade school. He's not going to college. There's still good reason to use a college savings plan because it lets you roll it over into an IRA. To my knowledge, that's not an option with a UGMA account like this one, also known as a custodial account. I could be wrong there. I'm not a tax lawyer. I'm not a guru. I'm just somebody who's trying to walk you through these kinds of things and help clarify with like layman's language so it makes sense to you. But as of right now, I lean towards using a college savings plan, which is also known as a 529, because it has that rollover feature. And to be clear too, that money is legally in the kid's name. It's not that it's not as locked down as a UGMA is. To my understanding, it's just as locked down. It's just that in the past, that was only earmarked for college. So it's like, if the kid doesn't need the money for college, then now it's this kind of waste. It's not that the money goes away. It's just that you'd be taxed and penalized for it. Where historically, this Acorns kind of account was a lot more open, but it had those like legal protections. I'm just not so sure it's that appealing anymore. That's my opinion. Do whatever you want. It's your life. It's your family. It's your money. I don't want to dissuade you from saving for your kid's future. I just think that there's more options than there used to be. That's all. So how do we functionally use this app day to day? You open the Acorns app. What are you supposed to do with it? Well, by and large, the intent with investing in the way that Acorns is set up to invest is you really don't do anything. The best way I've found to invest consistently over time and even bump that up over time is to set up automatic contributions. So because I have that set up, the money is actually moving from my bank account into Acorns totally on its own without me having to authorize it or do anything. I set it up once 3 years ago and it's gone nonstop ever since. And so for me, the only reason I get into Acorns is to play with a little investment calculator slider or to look at the balance and go, oh, that's really great. I'm down 4% all time. That kind of sucks. Or just to see how much money's in there. There's really no other activity for you to do. Now, if you're using this heavily for like your checking, I could see going in here and reviewing recent transactions just to see like, hey, where did my money go? What did I do? I think that's really wise just so you can track that. But by and large, there shouldn't be a lot of activity happening in here unless you don't want to do automatic contributions. So for example, let's say you want to invest with Acorns, you want to invest as much as you can realistically, but that amount just can't be consistent like the same amount on a time scale. Maybe you have a gig kind of job, like you get certain shows to go and work and you do the work and then you don't work for a little while, or maybe it fluctuates because of tips that you get, or it could be that you're in sales. Like I know people who can make $20,000 a month in a good month for sales, and then other months they might make $2,000. And so it wouldn't make sense for them to automatically put $5,000 a month into their Acorns account because on those months where they make 20 grand, yeah, it works. But on the other months, totally doesn't work. So if you need to do those kind of contributions manually, then I would expect that you would come in here and actually visit the app as frequently as you need to make those contributions. And so what that would look like is whenever you click into the invest screen, you hit this middle black button here, which is one time. That just means it's a one-time investment. It's happening today. The money is going to go in there into your account and it's not going to repeat itself. So for a lot of people, this makes sense because where you're at in life, that's kind of what you need to do. But if you can, I just encourage the automatic recurring investment deal to happen if you can. No pressure. It's all about doing what you can do in your life at this time. So I don't need to force that on you, but I've just found that it helps me. The two last things we haven't gone over yet are these two last buttons on the bottom side here. So this first one is kind of like a leaf, and these are just different, really, really short articles or videos or things that you can kind of look at. They call them courses, a 5-minute long course of how to build an investment portfolio. I mean, they're these very, very short little lessons to teach you things about money. I think it's good. Like if you just want to get your feet wet and you want to learn something, I think overall it's really good that Acorns puts this resource here because it's way better than nothing. It's way better than just letting you go sink or swim. I just wish there was more. I'm like, okay, you've chosen to go in this direction. Give me a 30-minute course. Give me a 1-hour course on how investing works or something. I just just think a 6-minute course is like not enough. You do you. Let me know in the comments if you like their courses. Then the bottom right-hand corner is something that we alluded to before, which is Acorns Earn. There's a lot of these different services nowadays. There's Rakuten and Earn and Honey and all these different services that basically are like a plug-in for your phone or for your computer that analyzes what you're looking at. And then they go, hey, if you're going to buy something from eBay, then we'll actually give you up to 1% invested back whenever you shop there, or Walmart or whatever. And, it's a little bit creepy because they're like in your business and they're watching where you're going and what you're shopping and what you're doing. But it's also a way to like potentially make a little percentage back. It's not going to make or break your finances. But if you're into that kind of thing, maximizing every last percentage of what you're doing, then that could be a valuable option for you. I do have it installed on my computer here on the desktop. And whenever I go somewhere that's like an online retailer, it pops up and says like, hey, you could earn 2% back here. Click to activate it or not. It's fine. It's kind of annoying to me, but it's an option for you. Good on you if that's your jam. It's an option to do it through Acorns here. And you can see I've only ever gotten $1.14 as my own rewards here from Apple, Chevron. I think that was back whenever I was using the Acorns debit card, because it's not just an extension. It's if you go to the retailers that they've partnered with through their app, then you use your Acorns debit card there, then you get this little like kickback. Like I actually got free money there for going and buying gas at Chevron. I got 25 cents. So the difference between Earn and Roundups is Earn is actually getting you, in a way, like free money. Roundups are just rounding up some of your own money to invest it more. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. Leave me a comment if it doesn't make sense, please. One more part of this Earn section that's so weird to me is they have jobs. I don't know who uses the Acorns app to look for jobs, and I'm guessing the Acorns just partnered up with some other job service and they get like a cut from somebody getting hired through their service. It's like a little referral program for themselves. But seems like there's a lot of truck driver jobs around and customer service jobs. Apparently, kind of odd. What if we click into it here? Yeah, there you go. Partner with ZipRecruiter. It's just like a link to ZipRecruiter, so I don't think it's anything too special. I don't think you get a particular benefit from looking for jobs through Acorns, but that's part of the app, and I promise to give you a full app tour. So there you go. If I missed anything in the app, then let me know. Leave me a comment. But otherwise, these two videos will give you a full overview of what the new Mighty Oak card is, what the features are, what it gives you, and then this one gives you an actual description of how to sign up for it. Because if you're an existing user, you can't just sign up for it. You can't just say, yeah, give me the new account. You have to delete your old account and set up a new one. So that's a pain. That's this bottom video. If you want to know the features and everything that it gives you, there's the top video first. The secret comment word for today, if you enjoyed the video or if you learned something, is grow. Let's grow our money. I know it's cheesy because it's like Acorns' little slogan, but it works for today too. All right, see you guys later. Bye.